Tupac Shakur was gunned down in an unsolved drive-by in Las Vegas.
Tensions remain high following the murder of Tupac Shakur. Six months earlier, Los Angeles buried one of the most influential artists in music history, and the city had not forgotten. Most people believe the murder of the Notorious B.I.G. was revenge for the killing of Tupac Shakur. But investigators later uncovered something strange. Because months after the city buried Tupac, Los Angeles was the last place Biggie should have been.
I mean, even though if we were going through our drama, I would never wish death on nobody. You know what I'm saying? Because there ain't no coming back from that.
For decades, the murder of the Notorious B.I.G. remained unsolved. But years later, former investigators would claim the truth was far more complicated. Because what happened that night in Los Angeles was not supposed to happen. March 9th, 1997, 12:45 a.m. The latest GMC Suburban of that year waits at a red light on Wilshire Boulevard. Inside sits one of the most famous rappers alive, the Notorious B.I.G., 24 years old, 2 albums away from global dominance. Another car slowly pulls beside him. Seconds later, gunfire erupts. 4 shots, 1 fatal. One of the shots ended the life of the Notorious B.I.G. Los Angeles Police Department opened a homicide investigation. But what they discovered in the following months raised even more questions. Questions about that night, questions about the people around him, and questions about why he was even in Los Angeles in the first place. Because the story everyone believed may not be the real one. 6 months earlier, hip-hop lost one of its biggest stars. Tupac Shakur was gone. But the anger he left behind did not disappear. Across the country, the rivalry between East Coast and West Coast artists exploded into headlines. Fans took sides. Arguments broke out in clubs, on streets, and inside record stores. The tension spread far beyond music. One rumor refused to disappear. Some believe that the Notorious B.I.G. knew more about Tupac's death than he admitted. No evidence ever proved that claim, but the suspicion remained. Investigators later said the rumors made the situation even more volatile. Every of his appearance, every interview, every public move was watched. Which makes the next decision even harder to explain. In early March 1997, Biggie boarded a flight to Los Angeles, a city many people believed he should have avoided. Biggie was preparing the most important release of his career. Bigger than anything he had released before, its title was striking. Life After Death. At the time, it sounded bold, but weeks later, it would feel like a prophecy. Inside the studio, the pressure was enormous. Every verse mattered. Every track was built to dominate the charts. For Biggie, this album was meant to confirm what many already believed, that he was the most powerful voice in hip-hop and the king of New York City. But music alone was not enough. The label needed attention, interviews, appearances, award shows, and campaign designed to place Biggie everywhere. The strategy was global. New York, Chicago, London, and one city the industry could not ignore: Los Angeles. In early March 1997, a decision was made. The promotion would pass through Los Angeles, a city still mourning the death of Tupac Shakur.
You know, Los Angeles is still tense after Tupac's death.
Yeah, I understand. But you know, we cannot promote the album if we stay hidden.
So the trip was scheduled. Interviews, parties, public appearances, a routine promotional stop. But that visit would place the Notorious B.I.G. in the exact city where tensions were at their highest. And within days, he would be dead. March 1997, a plane touches down in Los Angeles. On board is the Notorious B.I.G., a visit that would draw attention across the city. Some fans welcomed him. For them, Biggie was still one of the biggest voices in hip-hop, a star preparing to release Life After Death. But not everyone was celebrating. Some watched in silence. The memory of Tupac Shakur still hung over the city. A Across Los Angeles, murals and street memorials of Tupac Shakur remained, a constant reminder of the violence that had shaken the music world and the tension that still lingered. Just days later, the industry would gather for one of its biggest nights, the Soul Train Music Awards, an event that would place the Notorious B.I.G. directly in front of a Los Angeles crowd. A crowd still divided. Biggie arrived, relaxed, smiling, moving through the crowd of photographers. For the cameras, it looks like another routine appearance. Later that night, Biggie walked onto the stage. What happened next surprised everyone. The crowd began to boo him on the stage. Not quietly, loud enough for the entire arena to hear. For a moment, he tried to brush it off. A quick smile, a short remark to the audience, but the reaction revealed something important. Los Angeles had not forgotten Tupac, and the tension was still very real. After the ceremony, the night continued across the city. The celebration moved to the Peterson Automotive Museum, an exclusive industry party. Inside, music executives, artists, and celebrities gathered. Among them was the Notorious B.I.G. The atmosphere felt electrifying, music playing, crowds moving across the dance floor. For many guests, it was simply another after-party following the Soul Train Music Awards. But the night was moving toward a moment no one inside the building could see coming. Outside, the streets were darker. Several cars sat quietly across the road, engines running, watching the entrance, waiting for the party to end. Shortly after midnight, the party began to thin out. The Los Angeles Fire Department had closed the party early because of smoking, loud music, and overcrowding. Outside the Peterson Automotive Museum, Biggie prepared to leave. Friends and security gathered around him. The night in Los Angeles was still alive, but the celebration was ending. Inside the lead vehicle sat the Notorious B.I.G. in the front passenger seat. With him were close associates, Damian Butler, known as D-Rock. Behind the wheel was Gregory Young, better known as G-Money. In the second vehicle traveled Sean Combs. He was accompanied by Eugene Deal, Anthony Jacobs, Stevie J. Driving that vehicle was Kenny Story. The convoy moved through the night. 2 SUVs led the way. Behind them followed a Chevrolet Blazer carrying Paul Offord, the director of security for Bad Boy Records. The vehicle was driven by Reggie Blaylock, an off-duty officer from Inglewood. Dark-colored SUVs was moving through the streets of Los Angeles, streetlights sliding across the windows, traffic thinning as the city moved deeper into the night. No one inside the vehicles knew that within minutes, the journey would end in gunfire. 12:45 a.m. At an intersection on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles, traffic comes to a stop. Inside a black SUV sits the Notorious B.I.G., waiting at the red light. Then from the darkness, a car moves closer. A dark sedan rolls slowly beside his window. The driver, described as a black male wearing a light blue suit and a bow tie, lowered his window. For a brief moment, everything is still. He raised a 9mm pistol. 6 shots rang out. The bullet struck the SUV. The sedan accelerates away. Within seconds, the intersection falls quiet again, but inside the SUV, the damage is done. The Notorious B.I.G. has been fatally wounded. 4 of the bullets hit him. Paramedics rush towards Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Inside the ambulance is the Notorious B.I.G. Doctors work quickly, but the injuries are severe. Hours later, the news spreads across the music world. At just 24 years old, Biggie is gone. Morning arrives on Wilshire Boulevard. The intersection is quiet again, but the investigation into the murder of the Notorious B.I.G. would continue for years. Detectives followed leads. Witnesses were questioned, yet the case remained unsolved. And sometimes history turns on a single moment, a single decision, a single red light.